Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My cord got stuck. Where's the intern? Isn't the intern supposed to handle this?
What's up
We are live. Secrets of the Sire. Talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every week with myself, our engineer Sam Leibowitz, and a wonderful co-host, Hassan Godwin. What's up, man?
And that other guy.
And that other guy.
How are you doing?
The other guy is always the least...
Careful now.
I was going to say least not rewarded. Well, yes, you're not getting any reward for this.
Well, I'm used to it because I'm a bass player. So
and you're the unsung hero.
Oh,
is it the unsung?
Unsung, sung.
Well, you are sung.
People don't even know what a bass is 90% of the time.
Well, how do you?
That's that big stupid guitar with the 4 strings on it.
We're not talking about a bass. I'm talking about it in this show. You're like the unsung hero, right?
The bassist is the unsung hero of the band.
Well, we've got a tremendous show tonight. We are talking comics, movies, and TV, as we always do. We have a great guest on tonight, though.
Yes, we do.
Fecal Leone joined us on Periscope. We love that guy. Hoping the studio burned down. Nope, studio is still going strong.
We have asbestos underwear on, too. We're okay.
We also, in addition to the great guest, we have the co-creator of Deadpool coming on, Fabian Nicieza. Try pronouncing his name because that is not easy to do.
No, but once you get it right, you'll never forget it.
It's very, very true. And I do some work with his brother Mariano, so I just Nicieza this and Nicieza that. It's been fairly simple to be able to do that. But we want to welcome all the peeps on Facebook Live. We want to welcome all the peeps on Periscope as well.
Hello, peeps.
Again. Yeah, we do have peeps. It's pretty cool like
peeps
that.
Peeps taste terrible, too.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Snowed In and looking to entertain the kids. Fun Food Flip is the game for you. Each player gets dealt a hand of food cards and must come up with the most gross and most interesting combinations for each of the 4 courses. Just wait to see what your kids come up with. If you like apples to apples, you'll love Fun Food Flip. We had a little snow the other day, so you could have played it then. There's a lot of things you could have done during a snow day. We want to thank our beloved patrons as well. We have dedicated fans, Einar Peterson, Matt Byer, John Hoff III, Ashley Haikai. Welcome, Elizabeth McKee. They microwave well. Excellent. Our program director, Stephanie Dolce. Our executive producer, Steve Hovecki and Brian Phillips. And as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. All right, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to welcome Fabian a little bit later on in the show. And one of the things that Fabian also did, which was awesome, was he wrote Batman. And Batman was in the news here this week.
It was in the news.
And I've told Sam this on a number of occasions, and I think it's the most amazing thing is this show just writes itself. Right? Like, we don't have to actually really do much of anything. Well, it is a very, very good thing.
Those gnomes, they're worth every penny.
I mean, we essentially just basically look at the news, and there's just always something
there's always some
comic book related or,
this is going to be a big year anyway because, everything's happening this year. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
TV shows, movies, everything. So it's going to be huge. There's going to be a bunch of shows writing themselves.
It's going to be huge, except now it's a little less exciting. We have Sad Affleck now.
We do.
So
he's all over the place, sad, too.
Variety.com, Ben Affleck has decided to step down as director of The Batman, but will remain on as a producer and still star in the project. Affleck is still on board to play the superhero, but sources close to the talent said Affleck and Warner Brothers, after discussing how to make the best film possible, I'm actually correcting their article, poor writing, came to the decision together. There are certain characters who hold a special place in the hearts of millions. Affleck said in a statement, performing this role demands focus, passion. It also demands Thorne McGee, who just joined. Welcome Thorne on the Facebook
Thorne.
Live. And I cannot do both jobs to the level they require. Together with the studio, I've decided to find a partner and a director who will collaborate with me on this massive film. I'm still in this, and we're making it. But we are currently looking for a director.
This is what gives you pause, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying your logic is, as we sort of brushed on it, was that it's something seriously wrong for a guy who's got the keys to the kingdom, to kind of hand the keys over to somebody else, to some undisclosed person. So it's not even like, I wanted to give these keys to George of the Jungle. who is the most amazing filmmaker of all time.
Right.
I'm just gonna throw these keys up, and whoever catches it can make my movie.
Exactly. And that's so immediately I thought of Sad Affleck when I read this statement. Though sources say this decision was solely based on what's best for the project and had nothing to do with the recent disappointment of Affleck's recent directing job. Boy, Variety just does not write good articles.
No.
With the recent disappointment of Affleck's recent directing job, like really, get an
recent
editor.
Twice.
Get an editor,
That's
Variety.
Just disgusting.
Jesus.
That's disgusting.
So the recent directing job, Live by Night. All right, so
I guess that didn't do well.
No, it is
actually
going to cost Warner Brothers $75 million.
Really?
Yeah, that's
is
how.
It that bad?
That's
is
how
it a bad? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Is it a bad movie? Is it a bad film?
I don't see movies anymore. Wait,
yeah.
I host a movie.
Yeah,
podcast. I see all the movies.
Yes,
every
we
movie. No, I heard critics kind of panned it, and it did not do well in the theaters.
Wow.
And Patrick, our intern, was making faces when I even talked about it. So clearly, it was not. It was pretty bad.
We gotta give Patrick another seat because he's behind me and I can't see any of.
Well, he's haunting you back there.
Yes, and I feel haunted.
So, all right. Before we even continue with the poorly written Variety article, I mean, that is exactly what we need to talk about. Though it's like, is Ben Affleck? What is the is that and that's seriously, it's exactly what I started posting on social media and started thinking was that this guy is, and with good cause, and I think you actually have a great counterpoint to this, and we'll get into that in a second. Was he basically thinking to himself, I don't want to flop. I don't want another Daredevil. I don't want another Geely. I don't want another now Live by Night. Like, is he almost scared to make a bad movie?
First of all, Daredevil wasn't him. He was just in it.
Sure.
Geely wasn't him.
Sure.
He was just in it.
Yeah.
So, and Live by Night is basically his first flop because he did The Town, which was a great movie.
Yes.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed. And he did, what was the other one? Argo.
Oh, Argo was amazing.
Argo was a great, yeah.
But
so
Argo was exactly why people were so excited to see him actually direct the Batman, because you're like sitting there saying, like, and just like you kind of put it, he can be everything Zack Snyder wasn't. And now it's like, well, I don't know now.
Well, yeah, but he's still committed to being Batman.
Right.
So, I mean, he's not. I mean, I understand what everyone's saying, and I understand the kind of disconnect or whatever. Is like, well, he's not 100% committed to it because it's not going to be all his vision. He had the opportunity to make it be a great character in a great movie that he made.
Yeah,
and now they're going to find, theoretically some fly-by-night, last-minute director is going to come running in. See, here you go.
Sources say there's a short list, and that War of the Planet of the Apes helmer Matt Reeves is among those on the list.
Which we haven't seen yet, though,
right, which we don't know.
So that's not... It's a nice try, but...
Where does this leave DC, though, too? I mean, it's also a perception thing, right? And we kind of touched upon it. I mean, where does it really leave it to the point
DC's always
where...
going to be behind the eight ball because Marvel just got such an amazing head start on them.
But this was supposed to be, we're gonna re-steer the ship now. We've got a Academy Award-winning director doing this. We've got a guy who's all in.
Look what happens to these guys. All right, Favreau, Marvel, Marvel MCU is the house that Jon Favreau built.
Yes.
Okay. What do you even hear? You don't hear from him anymore.
Sure.
He can't get arrested now. Okay. Joss Whedon came and redefined what Marvel House is going to be. He's the one, theoretically, who piloted the ship to Money Island, okay,
yes,
with the Avengers.
Yes, we're going back to Money Island.
He makes the second Avengers movie. He can't get arrested anymore. And I'm not a big fan of Joss Whedon. We've discussed this, and I think he was treated unfairly with Age of Ultron, which I didn't really like, but we'll get into it some other time.
Yeah, we'll yeah.
So, and then look, Zack Snyder is going to be DC's poster child, like Golden Boy,
right?
And look what's happened to Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder was not an unknown.
No,
he had a heck of a resume before he got to Man of Steel.
Right.
And when they gave him Man of Steel, people were like, "Well, that's going to be interesting because he resurrected the zombie genre, and he pretty much started the visually astounding comic book genre.
So wait, I got to interject here.
Someone's making fun of me?
No, not making fun of you, actually. Making fun of Ben Affleck. And so I have to hand it to Elizabeth McKee, who is chiming in on Facebook Live. By the way, you can find us on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire.
Secrets of the Sire. Do it.
You know, on the what do you call on Periscope, on the Periscope, where we get our hecklers, which is awesome. At Michael_Dolce. I guess Elizabeth McKee chimed in. He did direct a short called "I Killed My Lesbian Wife, Hung Her on a Meat Hook, and Now I Have a 3-Picture Deal at Disney."
But we try not to think about that.
And apparently, no, this is director Ben Affleck. I mean, I'm looking at IMDb.com. This has to be like a hoax. It has to be. But I'm looking. It is IMDb.com. Unless I just got fished and now I have no money because I clicked on the link and now I have that's
You've
it.
been robbed. You've been robbed blind.
Shoot, man, Randy Hogan's got my car.
Some guy just came in and took your shirt. Who was that guy? Bring Mike's shirt back.
To be fair, if this is how I lose all my money in a Nigerian prince scam, I'm okay with it. Actually, I think that's actually.
I'm not alright with it because I'm 5 feet away from you. I don't want to lose all I got.
So Randy Hogan's got my car. Elizabeth McKee has all my money.
Yeah,
which is not much. So joke's on them. My car was kind of crappy too.
It adds to what they got. So it's all win for them.
Storyline: a first-time feature film director who's also the writer and producer is casting the lead actress. We meet him talking to his... Oh, my God. I'm not even going to get into this. This is
yeah,
what kind of synopsis is this?
That sounded dark the minute you started reading it.
The wrinkle is that the director is a homicidal misogynist. Oh,
Of course.
Isn't that always the wrinkle?
Yeah, that's the wrinkle you always want to run away from.
That's just Hollywood,
yeah,
right? I mean,
that's my landlord.
All right, I want to remind everybody that this is a live call-in show. This is a podcast for anybody listening on iTunes. Again, iTunes, you can get us look up Secrets of the Sire. Go to SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Secrets of the Sire. But you can call in right now. We do this every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Call in 877-480-4120. I want to know your thoughts. Where does this leave DC? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? And up next, we're going to do the pros. We're going to do a little pro-con to Sad Affleck.
Affleck.
When we come back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Hello, I'm JC.
I'm Joan. And welcome to 21st Century Entrepreneur.
We bring education,
insight,
knowledge,
awareness,
trouble,
craziness, and fun
for you, the entrepreneur who's looking to build your business
and your community. Listen every Friday from noon to 1 Eastern on talkradio.nyc. And you can tweet us at 21st CE Radio or Talk Alternative.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. I'm your host, Mike Dolce. I got our trusty engineer, Sam, in the background. We got my co-host, Hassan Godwin. And in the back, we have intern Patrick.
Who's haunting me from behind.
Who's always haunting you from behind. But
let's never use that sentence again.
That's very true. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, too, because we're on Facebook Live, and the way the camera's actually positioned looks terrific. Periscope is right next to me with the camera right next to me. It just looks... I mean, this microphone looks gigantic. And there's some... Yeah. So if you go to...
only if you go there with your mind.
Yes. Well, I mean, where else does my mind go? Go to @Michael_Dolce. Day and find us on Twitter, and then you'll also find us on Periscope, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Facebook Live, you just get a perfect shot. We love all of our people chiming in as well too. So on the Facebook page, chime in with some comments. We will read them on air. It's less work for us to do, just to read other stuff. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
We're
That's why we say the show writes itself.
We're a big fan of that. Call in 877-480-4120. Our guest coming up next segment co-created Deadpool and wrote Batman, so he's gonna have he's gonna have a ton of opinions. Even though he wrote in my pre-interview interview, he has no opinions. So but we're gonna get to
We'll find that out.
We'll get that in there.
It'll just be silence. You're just gonna ask him questions, and you're gonna hear silence.
So we were talking. Hey, we got Leo Reg just joined. So he heard giant phallic microphone Periscope.
He jumped
got to
in.
join.
He jumped right in.
Pros and cons to Sad. We'll call him Sad Affleck or Sefleck. Is that
Safleck.
Sad Fleck?
Yeah.
That's kind of tough to enunciate, but it's better than a Variety article anyway.
Right.
So
yeah.
we'll go with
Like
that.
root canal.
There's pros and cons to this, right? It's not all negative. I mean, obviously, my initial reaction
Is a negative. Your initial feeling is
hey,
that
by the
it's
way,
a negative.
Omar Ban Molly just chimed in. Fabian has opinions. Godwin knows the truth. So,
and Omar knows.
And-
Omar
and-
knows the truth.
that's what we like to see. We like to see that people know the truth. All right. My initial reaction was, oh, my God, DC just can't get out of its own way. This is no good. I think there was...
How does DC get blamed though? We don't necessarily know that.
Well,
Warner
DC as an
Brothers
entity,
decided.
right? It's the perception thing. It's like you don't hear things like this, come out of Marvel. Like you brought up Age of Ultron, and it's not really a great Avengers movie, but
no, it's not.
that's the worst that they can come up with. You know what I mean? Like that's the worst that Marvel can do, because Marvel as a corporate structure in the film universe, you just have this perception you're getting quality.
All things change with time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The Patriots used to be a terrible organization. Now they've been to 7 Super Bowls, so it can reverse itself.
1991, Batman.
but
saw Batman, Superman.
Sure.
You have not 1991, but you have Superman the motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
You've got television shows. You had Batman on television in the 60s. DC was kicking butt for quite a long time. Marvel couldn't get its. I remember the Captain America movie.
Yep.
And the Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren.
I actually personally like that one because I was like 8 years old and it had boobs in it.
That's why.
And I was
because you
I was
were
like, Dad, it's the Punisher. He's a comic book character, and there's boobs in it, and that was, that was really
terrible film. Terrible film, Mike.
Not good. No, not good.
No,
still holds a place next to my boobs.
And that's fine. That's fine. Wherever you want to keep that. That's as long as you keep it warm. But that's what Marvel was for quite some time, for quite a long time.
But using the Patriots analogy, Ben Affleck was supposed to be their Tom Brady. I'm keeping it all Boston. I'm keeping it. Look, it's Super Bowl this week. I got to do some sort of tie-in for that.
You don't know if he's not gonna be. He's just not gonna direct it.
Sure.
It doesn't mean his Batman. He's already proven his Batman. People love his Batman.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like his Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of people I've talked to, they're like, that's the best Batman I've ever seen. So I'm like, all right, at least that's working for somebody.
And that's a good lead into the first pro, right? A half-hearted director is not a good thing, right? Like not for this franchise. I know Batman was their only successful franchise, if you really look at it, right? Both Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan will leave out the Schumacher, years and stuff like that. But I mean, in general, even those to an extent were successful until they killed everything.
Yeah.
If he's questioning himself, maybe it is best that he sets it aside. For whatever the reasons, we talked about that in the first segment. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he's just worried about the negative reactions. This is not his first bomb in a while, too. Batman v Superman was critically, bombed, if you want to go, and that's where Sadfleck came from. So maybe that's a good thing that he is not, he's not feeling this. Maybe that's a good thing, right? But here's a con, right? This guy earned his chops with Argo and even Live by Night. Look,
it looked good.
It looked good, right? I mean, if it's not critically received, that's okay. I feel like there's a big con. He's letting the fans down.
You can't say that though. I mean, if he would let this, there's no way to win, because if he made that movie half-heartedly,
no, there's a way to win. I mean, if he made if he makes the movie half-heartedly, I agree.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, if he actually brings the level of quality that wins Oscars, like in Argo,
DC hasn't made a good movie yet. Okay, theoretically, I have my own personal feelings about Man of Steel and also about Batman versus Superman, but that I guess the conventional wisdom as with the prequels,
Sure.
you know, that DC hasn't made a good movie. They're just not good movies, and that's all there is to it as far as the internet's concerned, right? So
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, we haven't seen Wonder Woman, but Ben Affleck is pretty much, it would be all on his shoulders to fix everything.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure. He's got to be Batman.
I agree.
He's got to be Bruce Wayne.
I agree.
And he's got to fix everything.
So,
And he's just a man.
A new pro is another pro. This opens the door for some new directors, right? So Star Wars is the model. Then this actually might work out really, really well, right? Ben Affleck, like you said, can focus on just being Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And we can bring in a new director, just kind of like, look, Rogue One brought in a new director. J.J. Abrams kind of, now it's like you're taking these known entities and you're giving, up-and-coming directors a chance to shine. So that's a pro, no question.
Yes.
A con, this opens the door to new directors. Unlike Star Wars and Marvel.
How'd you do that?
I know, it's poof, crazy. Unlike Star Wars and Marvel, do we feel confident that DC actually has a plan for what they're doing?
No.
Patrick gives the big thumbs down behind you.
I could see him because I could see the shadow. No, we were not confident.
And that's, what the funny thing is?
We had Zack Snyder who made 300.
Yes.
And who made Dawn of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
He made Dawn of the Dead. He made Sucker Punch. That's a polarizing movie.
Yep.
And then he made Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And then he made
Batman v Superman, right.
I liked Man of Steel to an extent.
I liked it to an extent.
It's a completely incoherent movie. Narratively, it's terrible. It's a really terrible movie. There are aspects of Superman that I really like in Batman versus Superman.
There's aspects of Batman versus Superman. There's it was it's like that old Entourage episode when Harvey Weingart is watching Medellin and he's like, "There's greatness in this movie. we just need to find it." And there is greatness in that. I thought the first hour of Batman v Superman was actually really well done. It set up why Batman would be against Superman. Mm-hmm. It set up why they would inevitably come to conflict, and then it added like 1,800 characters and like 3 mega plotline storylines.
They wanted it to be Avengers,
right? Because exactly, they wanted to catapult.
And you're not going to be Avengers,
but that's what it comes down to. So I don't care what director you bring in. I mean, you could bring in Scorsese, and I would still sit there and be like, does DC have a plan?
No, they don't have a plan.
Does DC have a plan?
They don't have a plan. They don't have a universe. Their model is exactly what Marvel's model was.
Right.
Except Marvel did the
without
groundwork.
Any direction, without any
the
actually,
legwork.
Right.
Because Marvel used separate movies to set up every character that was in their flagship movie, which is the Avengers. I cannot talk. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so the Avengers did not have to waste an hour and a half setting up the origin of each and every one of these characters,
right,
which we're going to have to deal with.
I look at it from more of a I look at it from more of a contradictory platform too, right? Like Warner Brothers is supposed to be like the home where a director and an artist can just do their thing. Like that's why they're like, we don't need an interconnected universe because we want you guys to be able to just, as filmmakers, take these characters and do whatever you want. By the way, can you also make an interconnected universe while you do it?
While you're at it.
Yeah. So,
but if they were really committed to it, they wouldn't have started with Batman. Because we've had 100 Batman movies.
Oh, yeah.
So they should have started with something else,
well,
and we would have known they were committed.
They didn't start with Man of Steel, and then they realized they could start with Man of Steel and say, hey, Man of Steel was the first one. Mm-hmm. Hindsight. All right, when we come back, we've got Fabian Nicieza, co-creator of Deadpool. He's written for Batman. He's pretty much written almost everything in comic books at some point. So he has zero opinions, but he's up next.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
If you have an interest in marijuana, you want to know about marijuana, law, policy, and culture, then feel free to join me, Joseph A. Bondi, every Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning on my show In the Know 420 on TalkingAlternative.com.
Legalize the herb to continue to resist the passage of this necessary legislation.
Hi, this is Rob Kay.
And I'm Callie Alpert.
And we're hosts of The Rob and Callie Show. Are you looking for a show that talks about real stuff like life, love, the pursuit of being yourself?
then you have come to the right place, because we cover topics ranging from chivalry to gratitude to your relationship with money and everything in between.
So listen to us on The Rob and Callie Show, Tuesdays, 8 to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. Secrets of the Sire. We do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc. We're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. Welcome SW Prequels. We love SW Prequels. On Periscope, at Michael_Dolce. And our next guest is, he's been doing comics for God knows how long. And he's pretty much, he co-created that indie film guy called Deadpool. So I want to welcome Fabian Nicieza to the show.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Now, you actually are very familiar with both myself and Hassan, actually. Hassan goes back to the Valiant days, correct?
Intimately familiar with both of you.
That's the way we like to...
Listen to how happy he sounds about that.
So, you've written over 1,000 comics, from Superman to Spider-Man, Buffy to Barbie. You've pretty much worked on everything. You co-created Deadpool for Marvel. Is there anything that you haven't worked on yet that you want to sink your teeth into?
In comic books?
Yeah.
There's always been a lot of house characters from Marvel or DC that I still would have liked to have had a shot at. I don't have that many regrets, luckily, and I don't lament the ones that exist that much, but I would love to have had a shot at writing Captain America monthly. I would love to have had a shot at writing at least a one-year arc on a Doctor Strange monthly book.
Wow.
Back in the early 90s, I pitched to try to get the monthly Doctor Strange book, and I didn't get it because editor was frankly terrified of what I pitched, that wasn't a big deal. It was just the second coming of Christ and Doctor Strange having to stop it because if the spiritual promotion of the planet happened, then that was going to give the dark gods an entry to take over the planet. So he basically had to stop the second coming of Christ, is what it amounted to. And apparently that scared him off a little bit. But it was a really, really good story. I wish I would have had a chance to tell it.
Well, it's liberal Marvel
and
now
there's
would
characters at DC that I would like to have had a shot to do more of. I got to work on the Trinity weekly book, and I did all the backups in that when Kurt Busiek was doing the main section, and I got to write a gajillion DC characters in that. But I would love to have had a chance at like a Hawkman or an Atom type of thing. I got to write Nightwing a little bit, and he's my favorite character in comics since I was 5-6 years old. Dick Grayson Robin was my favorite character, and I got to write the monthly Robin and Red Robin book. So I got to write Tim Drake. So yeah, no, not that much in that.
So you haven't accomplished anything.
I still want to do more
comics.
creator own stuff. But I'm honestly just too damn lazy.
So you've accomplished nothing, is what you're saying, and that's there's nothing.
Yeah, you know what? I do have a gut feeling that I did too much too soon, and that kind of tired me out faster than it should have. So I started to gravitate away from comics 15 years ago because I had burnt myself out a little bit on them post Acclaim. So I started to look for other things to do, and that took me to a lot of work outside of comics.
Cool. That's actually a great segue, too, and we love segues on the show. What was it like creating comics in the early 90s during the hysteria?
It was interesting. That's the best way I could put it.
No. We want dirt here.
It
dirt.
Really, it honestly was the best of times, the worst of times. There were tremendous positives to all of that. Not just the work environment was great for the most part at Marvel. We had a great time. We really all cared about each other a lot. We worked together very well at a certain point. where people were working, all the different departments were working pretty well together. That was like 88, 89 to about 93 or so. Things started to fall downhill after the company got bought by Perlman, and they started to raise their expectations of what the company had to do to perform to the standards to which they could steal money from the company and pocket it, and that started to create undue pressures, which started to create rifts within the company. But working on the comics was pretty exciting. But I was doing so much, and it was under such stressful conditions that I wasn't able to enjoy it enough at the time, and I certainly don't enjoy it in hindsight, because I don't think that the work that a lot of the work that I was involved with was as good as it could have been or should have been. So that's why I say best of times, worst of times, because I'm writing, a lot of the top selling books. I'm cashing big checks. I got giant lines at conventions for autographs. That's all fun. I'm doing Pizza Hut videos with Stan Lee. Everything's hunky-dory fun, but the work itself is something that I wasn't proud of at the time, for the most part. Not every title, but certainly the X titles, and that always makes it hard in hindsight to look back at it.
So I have two questions for you. One is, how did you get your first break? I'm curious. I mean, you said you were piling on so much at once. So that's my first question, and it leads right into my second question. How come you never got a Levi's commercial?
All right, the Levi's commercial. Let me do the work. The former first. My first big break wasn't necessarily a big break per se, because I was already working on staff in the company. I was the company's advertising manager. Okay. So I was doing all the promo house ads, promo posters for the direct market, direct sales flyers, all that kind of stuff. That was my job. So I was very, very engaged and involved with editorial. And I got to sell my first story that saw print, because the schedules on the New Universe titles were such a disaster area that they were desperate for work. So I got to sell an inventory story that way. And I got assigned Sci-Force as a monthly book by Shooter right before he collapsed the line, and about less than a year before he got fired. So it's like I didn't even feel like I earned that, because it was just given to me, and I was forced on an editor. So that was a little uncomfortable. I didn't really feel like I earned my way into Marvel until I got New Warriors. When I got New Warriors, that's when I felt finally I'd worked my way to get that title. I did a whole bunch of short inventory stories and 8-page stuff for Marvel Comics Presents, which was collecting inventory well in advance of its publication. Annual backups. I did all of that for like 2 years after Sci-Force got canceled. So when I got New Warriors #1, a mainstream superhero title in the Marvel Universe that I get to kick off with a new issue, a #1 issue, that's when I finally felt that I'd earned my way into the company as a writer. I was already well ensconced in the company as the advertising manager. I was actually very responsible for a lot of stuff that was going on within the company from a promotional and sales standpoint.
That's great.
As far as the Levi's commercial is concerned,
that's what I want to know.
This is just
that's
so
what we
big.
really want to know.
My penis is so big that it couldn't be contained by a button-fly jean. So they had no choice but to go with other people for those commercials. And that's the truth, and I'm sticking with that story no matter what. No matter what my wife says.
So you're working with Rob Liefeld, working on New Mutants, and then eventually it obviously turns into X-Force. Liefeld to me is like the band Green Day. Like they got a lot of flack when they first came out for like not being technically they can't play their instruments and this and that. But then like you kind of look back and you're like, no, they do something really special, right? But when you were writing for Liefeld, did you ever look at his artwork and just be like, what is this guy doing? Where are these shoulder pads coming from? Why are these muscles?
Yeah,
so
well,
big?
that yes and no though. Yes, in that there was lots of things that he was doing as the schedule crept up on him, and as he was trying to juggle a little too much, namely trying to foment and start a brand new comic company while he was working on a monthly comic for Marvel that he was supposed to be writing and plotting and penciling and inking. And Rob likes to juggle a lot. Rob's very enthusiastic about stuff, so he sometimes jumps at the bright light too quickly, and he forgets that the light that he's currently working on still needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
And yes, some of the art was rushed, and a lot of that was deadlines. But I also know that he draws very, very well when he wants to, when he has the time, and when he has the enthusiasm and energy. And so there were instances where you could see stuff that wasn't coming through as good as I knew he was able to do.
Sure.
But I also understood why that was happening. I knew all the other stuff that he was doing and percolating. So. Look, he only drew the book for not even a full year. I mean, we had a guest art shop by Mike Mignola, and then we had Mark Pasella working off of real rough layouts from Rob. So it wasn't that long of a period of time when you really think about it. It was less than a year of working together on the actual art, and I was working a lot. I was scripting a lot off of layouts because he'd just do the layouts. I'd script off that, and then he'd be fleshing out the layouts and finishing the inks at his studio with himself and his assistants. So I generally never even saw the finished art and my script until the vellum balloon placements were placed on the original art boards when they came in for a final proofread. So it wasn't even like it wasn't the same kind of a process as working on New Warriors was, which I did the plot. Mark Bagley gave you the pencils. The pencils were completely finished and crisp and clear, and he handed in pages 1 through 22 in order. So that was a very different kind of a working experience. But all comics, all monthly comics are different working experiences. This just happened to be the way it was being done on X-Force.
So, talking about X-Force, obviously, New Mutants introduced Deadpool. I read this recently, doing my barely any research for the show. As it stands, he's an homage to the character Deathstroke. As the often quote goes, "You do the Deathstroke in the Deadpool," to the point where even writer Fabian Nicieza acknowledged it. He wrote to Liefeld, "This is Deathstroke from Teen Titans." He even named the character Wade Wilson as an acknowledgement. Is that the? Give us the origins.
I don't know where
Deadpool.
You're reading that from. I don't know where you're reading that from, but that's a bastardization of anything I've ever said or the real truth. Okay. The character was never created to be an homage of Deathstroke.
Okay.
He was never created to be a parody of Deathstroke.
Take that, movie blog.
An homage is a purposeful tip of the hat to a pre-existing character, and a parody is a purposeful comedic slant on an existing character.
Ah, okay.
The character was designed to be a combination of Spider-Man and Punisher. Rob wanted a thin character who could bounce around Cable and fight in a different way and had big guns and knives and swords. Now, there is definitely a touch of George Perez's costume design at work when it came to some of the harness belts and pouches and katana blades. And that's not just from Deathstroke, though. That's also from Taskmaster. Okay. A lot of people seem to want to forget because they love to bash Rob and they love to belittle the Deadpool creative process. A lot of people seem to forget that if you hold up Taskmaster and Deathstroke next to each other, you'll see a lot of similarities in some of the touches there, too. And those characters were designed 1 year apart by George Perez himself, okay? So Rob was definitely channeling a love of George Perez when he was doing aspects of that character design, and that's what I was joking with him about.
Sure.
And it wasn't writing it down. This was over the phone, and I named him Wade Wilson as a civilian identity as nothing more than an in-joke between me and Rob for me having joked about the George Perez costume and pouches stuff. I never said anything about that publicly for 15 years, okay? I guarantee you not a single letter we ever got at Marvel, and we used to get thousands of letters for that book, not a single letter ever said, "You ripped off Deathstroke because his name is Wade Wilson." 99% of the people didn't even realize it. And I'm not kidding, and I'm not bullshitting. That's just the absolute truth. until I said it in an interview years later that I named him Wade Wilson as an in-joke between me and Rob because of the George Perez Deathstroke love. Okay? So the response I have, and now I get angry about it because it perpetuates on the internet as a falsehood, and then people read snippets of misappropriated information.
Wait. Are you telling me that the things on the internet is not true? That's not,
yes. I am telling you that some of the things on the internet may not be true.
I told you Fabian had outrageous
other than
ideas.
the size of Donald Trump's inauguration audience, not everything on the internet is true. Right? But the thing that now you made me lose my train of thought, and I was just getting my dander going.
It's time for commercial.
The thing that bothers me the most of all is people who say he was created to be a parody of Deathstroke. And my response to that is pretty simple. Although 9 times out of 10 when I say it to somebody, they look at me with a blank face because they don't even know the details of Deathstroke as a character. So how could they even claim it's a parody of Deathstroke? But that's besides the point.
Sure.
They want to look at it at surface value. My response to you, if you guys know anything about comics, which you're supposed to because you're doing this show, okay? My
we
question
have
to
no
you
credentials here. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Does Deadpool have a butler named Spearmint? And what is your answer to that?
Does Deadpool have a butler named Spearmint?
Yeah.
No.
Son goes no.
Does Deathstroke have a butler named Wintergreen?
Yes.
Yes, he does. If Deadpool was a parody of Deathstroke, my poor lack of skill fashion back in 1991, he would have had a butler named Spearmint, wouldn't he? Does Deadpool have a son who is blind and can't smell, can't hear, and can't touch? The answer is no, he does not. If he had been a parody of Deathstroke, he would have had a son who couldn't hear, smell, or see, or touch, because Deathstroke had a son who couldn't talk, who was mute, okay? So, which actually, in hindsight, I wish I'd done that, because that would have been really funny. So, in my mind, at 30 years old, with the lack of experience I had as a writer, a parody of a character would have come across like Mad Magazine. It would have been overt and purposeful. And nothing about the Deadpool character has anything to do with Deathstroke's character. Not even the healing ability that people throw out at me. I was like, are you kidding me? That Rob was just copying Wolverine's healing factor because Rob thought that was cool and he thought that it would help Deadpool's cred, right? I'm the one who didn't want to call it a healing factor because I thought it was stupid that every character under the sun was starting to have healing factors. So all I did is BS technobabble, and I called it perpetual cellular regeneration. That's what he has. And that actually led to me getting to the point of why did he go to the Weapon X program to try to help himself, which resulted in him being this way. And the reason for that is because of the cancer. Deathstroke doesn't have cancer. My mother-in-law had cancer. That's why Deadpool had cancer.
We're not laughing for the mother-in-law had cancer
part.
part.
To try to save his life, and that's what ended up turning him into a monster, and that's what ended up making his brain crazy. His brain is crazy because the brain cells are constantly in flux because of the perpetual cellular regeneration. Just doesn't sound as good as a healing factor. It doesn't trip off the tongue as easily. So I get my dander up because I'm sick and tired of answering the same questions again and again and again. It's been 25 plus years, and it's all in print. It's on paper. You can actually read the comics and make a determination for yourself whether you think a character is actually a parody of another character.
We've got a fired up Fabian Nicieza here, which I'm kind of proud of that we got you fired up. But unfortunately,
you know me too well. You can ask anybody at work; it doesn't take too much to fire me up. I got yelled at on Tuesday because I was told I go bananas over the littlest thing, and I said that wasn't even me going bananas. Wait till I do Dolce show on Wednesday. Oh my God.
Well, you definitely delivered in that question, but now we've actually run out of time, and I can't get to my Tiger Beat question, which is the Dream X-Men lineup question. So we're gonna have you back on at some point, and we're gonna do that. And we didn't even get into Celebrity Mad Libs. I was gonna do Celebrity Mad Libs with you. I'm deeply upset now.
Yeah, but what you got was way better than Celebrity.
Well, we don't know actually.
Either you got to book me for more time because you got to plan for me rambling, or you got to not ask me questions that make me ramble. I will hint at my next appearance though. Any Tiger Beat X-Men lineup has to begin with Bobby Sherman. Okay. We'll go from there.
All right, Fabian. That is Fabian Nicieza, co-creator of Deadpool. He also has his name up on a street sign in the movie, which had to be pretty cool for you, right?
Yeah, it was kind of fun. Yeah, it was good. It was nice. I'm glad they did that. A percentage of the gross would have been even nicer, but it's okay that they did that. That was nice.
I'll take a street sign. All right, Fabian, we're definitely gonna have you back on the show. It's been awesome, and we'll talk. Because I'm sure that Deadpool guy is going to be around a little longer, so
Maybe.
I'm sure we'll have you.
I hope
again.
at least another 10 to 20 years. Yeah.
Fabian Nicieza, everybody. When we come back, we'll pick it up from there somehow.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
TalkingAlternative.com.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. I want to thank our guest Fabian Nicieza. I think Hassan, you made a comment off the air.
Yeah, that he I think we asked him one question, and he pretty much carried the entire interview himself,
which was just awesome because we like to do as little work as possible
Yes,
on this end of the gigantic microphone. For anybody who's watching me on Periscope right now,
the writer gnomes are not getting paid for that segment.
Well, we don't pay them anyway.
No,
we didn't even get it. So this is the funny thing too. Yeah, I actually wrote like 10 questions. I'm glad I got to at least ask him what it was like in the early 90s because I wanted that. But then we just started talking. Is Deadpool Deathstroke? That's all we needed, which is awesome.
Yeah,
because quite frankly, that was pretty impressive.
Apparently, set his brain on fire though.
Yeah,
you don't want to set the guest's brain on fire.
I mean, we didn't even get into Celebrity Mad Libs. We were going to start a whole bit. We're going to try this. Maybe we'll do it with Jeff Gomez, who's coming on in 2 weeks. We got Pat Shand coming on next week, who Zenoscope writer, Marvel novelist. Is that the best way to put it?
Yes,
I guess that's the best way to put it. Maybe we'll do Celebrity Mad. They'll both be in studio, so maybe we'll do Mad Libs in studio. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that was Fabian Nicieza. This is Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, comic book movies, TV shows, anything related to the comic book universe. We talk about it every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, talkradio.nyc. We're also, we're also not only on Facebook and Periscope, but we're on Patreon as well, too. We didn't mention it much tonight, but... you could actually have gotten green room access, and you could have heard Hassan and I talk Trump politics and writing and prepping for Celebrity Mad Libs. You get green room access if you support the show. $5 a month. It's crazy. That's like barely anything. I think like lunch costs way more than that. So you can
Mine
actually
certainly does.
Yeah, I would think so. So go to michaeldolce.com, MichaelDolce.com. It'll take you to the Patreon page, or go to the Patreon, look up Secrets of the Sire. If you like what you listen to, help us out here and be a supporter of the show, and you get some cool stuff in advance.
Show.
We've kind of talked a little. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff tonight. We talked about Ben Affleck. Again, I didn't even get a chance to ask Fabian.
To Ben Affleck.
No, we didn't talk
about.
Well, I'm going to publicize that we did talk to Ben Affleck.
You know what? I keep messing you up, man.
In fact,
I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to.
I mean, we had Sad Fleck. We had Sad Fleck. We had fired up Fabian. Fabian. We got to come up with some sort of Nicieza. You're not coming up with
fired up Nicieza.
Yeah, but that's not like the same thing as like sad fleck. We need two words combined into one word that kind of
give me a minute.
Kind of sums up.
Give me a little while. I'll think of it.
But we're gonna go spin in the racks a little bit too. We do this every week. It's a nice way to put a bow on the show and just kind of talk about some of the other comic book news that's out there. Or comic book related news. Again, the Ben Affleck thing was big. We were talking about that for the first two segments. You can catch us on iTunes. Again, download any of the show. We're on YouTube. YouTube.com/C/Secrets of the Sire. We got our URL. It was very exciting. I hate Google. That's beside the point. But again, you could have had that whole conversation if you were an executive producer. Anyway, Nicole Kidman in talks for major DC role. So apparently Nicole Kidman, this is according to Newsarama, and not the movie blog, which is where Fabian take that, the movie blog. He is not happy with themovieblog.com for writing what they wrote. But so in today's second piece of potential Aquaman casting news, Nicole Kidman is in early talks to join the film, according to Hollywood Reporter. Kidman would play the role of Atlanta. Oh, your eyes just lit up here.
Yeah,
so for anybody out there,
that's not bad.
All right, so give me Atlanta. I know nothing about it. Give me the scoop on this.
So
I don't know if anybody realizes at this point. I have no working knowledge of comic books or the comic book industry, even though I've been in the industry now for 15 years. Go ahead, Atlanta. Let's go.
It's this.
Is it the former
Georgia.
queen? Is it? Yeah. No, that's Hotlanta. Actually, Nicole Kidman could be Hotlanta too.
She could be Hotlanta.
She, according to this, is the former queen of Atlantis and Aquaman's mother.
Well, if you knew that, why did you ask me questions?
Actually, I didn't realize that. I just didn't keep reading down the line. Had I known, there was other things. The actress previously played the non-comic book character Professor Chase Meridian in 1995's Batman Forever opposite Val Kilmer.
We're not going to talk about that, though.
Well, she looked great in that movie,
She
though.
did.
I got to be the first one to say.
Everybody looked great in 1995.
No, I disagree.
Even I looked great in 1995.
I disagree. I disagree. The 90s were not...
90s were a wonderful time.
Oh, no, they were an amazing time. Absolutely an amazing time. It was a great time to be alive. However, I would say with the fashions of today, I would say that no one looked good in the 90s. I mean,
that's because you're using your eyes of today to look.
No, I disagree. Actually, I'd say
you did not think back then in 1995 that everybody looked terrible. You didn't think it.
I didn't think it. I think we looked better than in the 80s. So
yes,
I would
even
say
in
that.
the 80s, everyone said,
I would say that my 1-year-old,
what's going on with the way we look?
My soon to be 1-year-old son is just growing to grow up in a fantastic time where everyone just looks fantastic. Because I think people are like,
you think so?
I think so. I think it's progressively getting better looking.
30 years from now, he's going to be like, I don't know.
The
what we were
world
doing.
is getting progressively better looking. We are getting progressively worse looking. Over time.
No, there's no we.
Okay, I am getting progressively
that's
worse.
Fine.
Looking.
That's why you're on
You've
the camera.
You've actually stayed pretty static. I do have to say that.
That was my goal, to stay static.
If cast
Kidman,
we should probably talk about. It's not Hassan's fault. This is completely my fault. If cast, Kidman would join Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman, great cast, alongside Amber Heard as Mira, Willem Dafoe as Vulko,
poor Willem Dafoe,
and Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master.
All right. Okay.
See, so to kind of tie this back into what we were kind of talking about, I mean, there is hope for the DC universe. There's definitely.
I've been saying there's hope.
I've been saying that every time there seems to be hope. That it's like the 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
We take this back maybe a month. You were talking about Wonder Woman, and you were.
I think Wonder Woman looks fantastic.
Yeah, but you were ripping them a new one. Like just them in general, the DC universe in general. You were tearing them apart, and I'm like, well, look at Wonder Woman. There were certain things that were great about Batman versus Superman.
Oh, I know, but I never said that there wasn't. I
I think
great
that's
things.
the route to go for Superman from now on. Whenever they get it right, whenever they get the movie right, is to look at him through the eyes of other people.
Sure.
The Christopher Reeve Superman, we looked at Superman through the eyes of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think we kind of are in a more cynical age.
Absolutely.
We would be very skeptical of some guy who went around with godlike powers. And I like that aspect.
Like I said, I thought the
movies.
setup to Batman v Superman was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And then like we said, we kind of veered off into this
and some science fiction
which
weirdness.
didn't need to be there, right?
No,
just make the Batman v Superman movie, and maybe there's something. Maybe we're not having this conversation. But the problem, but that's the thing.
They should have made the Dark Knight,
right?
They really should have.
They should have
been the Dark Knight,
right? Instead, they tried to make the Dark Knight plus Superman Returns plus Superman, Death of Superman plus Justice League all in one movie.
And,
I mean,
a terrible.
But you brought something else up here, and this is something that we've way before you ever joined the show. I said something called the Van Helsing effect, right? And Van Helsing to me was supposed to be the worst movie of all time, right?
Yes.
And by the time I actually watched Van Helsing, though, it was like years later, because I avoided it like the plague because I heard such bad things. But by that time, my expectations were so low that when I watched it, I was like, this is not that bad. I don't understand why people are like this upset about it.
You didn't pay to see it, though. You didn't see it in the theater.
Has DC now achieved Van Helsing effect when we go in there? Is that just how we should be watching these movies now?
Yeah. Look, they're not that bad. They're not great. They're not amazing extravaganzas, but they're not as bad as people are making them out to. It's like the Fantastic Four movie. It wasn't
the new Fantastic Four movie was great until they realized that they're 2.5 hours in and they're like, oh, crap, we got to end this movie.
Yeah. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But it wasn't as bad as they made it out to be.
I don't think it was.
And that's the virtue.
I don't think it was bad. In fact, I think Fantastic Four, again, Van Helsing effect, though. I heard such bad things about it. By the time I watched it, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad.
The same with Suicide Squad for me.
Yeah.
Where, by the time I sat down, it was like, I see why this wasn't a summer blockbuster, but there's nothing really wrong with this
that's the thing.
film.
Is that fair to the fans now that they have to go in with such low expectations
it's not.
for it to be?
But it's the fans who do it to themselves.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's the filmmakers. I think it's the studio executives, putting their paws on everything, too.
They drum up the hysteria, but the fans are the ones who are hysterical, and the fans will keep the vitriol alive for years because the studio, after a while, studio just wants to drop it.
Sure.
And the fans will keep it going.
But it's look, if you're gonna play with these iconic characters, I mean, you have to.
But which came first, chicken and egg? It's the chicken and egg thing.
No, it's the egg. All right. On that note, I want to thank my guest. I want to thank my guest, Fabian Nicieza. Again, this is great. I should have him on every week. One question.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
It was done.
One question, 20 minutes
done.
later, we're done.
Fabian,
awesome.
One and done.
We talked about Sad Affleck. Again, if you want to catch us, go on iTunes. The new podcast is up every Friday morning. Go to iTunes.com/Secrets of the Sire. Go to SoundCloud.com/Secrets of the Sire. Go to Facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. Go to YouTube.com/C/Secrets of the Sire. And at Michael_Dolce. I'm Mike Dolce. That's Hassan Godwin. This is Sam. Next week, we got Pat Shand, Marvel novelist, in studio. Be there.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Hello, I'm JC.
I'm Joan. And welcome to 21st Century Entrepreneur.
We bring education,
insight,
knowledge,
awareness,
trouble,
craziness, and fun
for you, the entrepreneur who's looking to build your business
and your community. Listen every Friday from noon to 1 Eastern on talkradio.nyc. And you can tweet us at 21st CE Radio or Talk Alternative.
Hey, all you crazy listeners. Looking to boost your business? Why not advertise on Talking Alternative with very reasonable rates? Interested? Simply email at info@talkingalternative.com.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on talkingalternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network at www.talkingalternative.com. Now, broadcasting 24 hours a day. Talking Alternative.
Hi, this is Rob Kay.
And I'm Callie Alpert.
And we're hosts of The Rob and Callie Show. Are you looking for a show that talks about real stuff like life, love, the pursuit of being yourself?
Then you have come to the right place, because we cover topics ranging from chivalry to gratitude to your relationship with money and everything in between.
So listen to us on The Rob and Callie Show, Tuesdays, 8 to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.